A lot of the rentals are, $4,000 to $6,000 a month or even above. In today's video, I'm going to go through 10 areas / municipalities that have been hit the hardest in the decline of the rental market by percentage decrease of the rental amount. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. You can find my contact information in the description box. Everything from my Gmail to my Instagram and anything you need to get in touch with me with. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. Many people have been getting in touch. I appreciate your questions and I'm doing my best to get back to all those who are waiting. As always, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review if you enjoy this video and think it's informative. If not, don't do any of those things. Anyways, before we get to the list, an important preface. As I always tell my clients that general studies such as these are exactly what they are, general. They use averages and they usually have wide, large areas as their topic of focus. Studies such as this can point you towards the right direction, but they cannot provide you the solution or a fine or detailed answer to whatever question or inquiry you do have. Naturally, when your lens is wide and general, your answer will be wide and general as well. Think about it, right? For instance, one of the municipalities we'll be discussing today is Mississauga. Now, this study that I'm going based upon is average rent across all property types. So for instance, that is a wide range that is being taken into account. To be very exact, you have to look at a specific neighborhood, a specific property type, and a specific type within that property type. Having said all of that, let's get to the list. Number 10 is Oakville, coming at $2,359, which represents a 5.2% decrease. Now, this made the top 10, but it's the least hardest hit. That's why it's number 10. And doesn't surprise me because Oakville is occupied. The rental units are mostly detached, semi-detached townhomes. Not to say there aren't any condominiums, but nonetheless, mostly those property types. And generally speaking, those property types have been hit less than condominiums, which have been hit the hardest. And in the latter areas and municipalities that I'll be going through in this list, condominiums make up a bulk, 50%, even a majority of the property types in those municipalities. Hence why they are, have been hit the hardest and later on in the list. Number 9, Scarborough saw a 6.3% decrease, coming in at $1,907. Now, another thing you have to pick up on right here is this is number 9. It's been hit harder than Oakville, number 10, but the rental amount in Oakville is higher, right? So this is just measuring the percentage decrease from last year, not where the cheapest rental amounts are. Scarborough is cheaper by average market rent across all property types than Oakville, which is number 10, but Oakville has decreased less than Scarborough has. Scarborough, as you see from the percentage decrease, which is 6.3%, has been hit harder, even though the rent is still cheaper than Oakville. Number 8 is North York at $2,174, representing an 8.4% decrease. North York, I would say, is a very healthy mix of freehold and condominium properties, probably leaning a little bit more towards the condominium side of things for rental properties. Nonetheless, it still has seen a drop. I would say one thing that's sustaining North York is a lot of the freehold properties are in the luxury rental realm. Obviously, you do have your basements and your main floors, but for instance, by the Yonge St area, a lot of the rentals are, $4,000 to $6,000 a month or even above. Number 7 is Vaughan, coming in at an average of $2,081, which represents a 10.7% decrease. Now, Vaughan is a very much so recently redeveloped area. A lot of condominium projects have gone up at the same time, and I suspect the reason why it's placing higher on this list is because a lot of rental units went on the market simultaneously because a lot of condominium projects that were purchased at pre-cons went on the market after registration of the building, and thus what you had is a lot of pre-con buyers either having to enter the purchase and sale market, which would most likely mean they will not see the return they would want, or having to enter the rental market, which might be a little more palatable for them because they will say, well, in the short term, we're going to take in this negative cash flow or minuscule positive cash flow in order to sustain this hit on the condo market and sell down the line. Coming in at number 6 is York at an 11% decrease at the average price of $2,300. Now, once again, 11%. Now we're getting up in the realm of 10 plus percentage points. Later on, we'll even get plus 15. But York, very central area. As you can see, we're getting even more and more central as we go down this list, which should also give you the clue that, you know what, central areas have been hit the hardest. Next up is Markham at 12.8%. Markham has a lot of older properties, which is another factor you have to consider, is that typically what sees the brunt of a downward trend of any commodity, in this case, maybe we'll say condominiums or rental properties, are typically the older versions of those commodities. If there's a downward trend, let's say, a decline in the market of watches, typically older watches will see the brunt of that trend unless they're antique or luxury watches. And the same thing applies. Markham has a lot of older units, rental units. Not to say it doesn't have any new. There's a lot of development going up there. But I suspect that's why it's on the list at 12.8%. Next up is Mississauga at $2,092 for average rent, a decrease of 13.2%. Mississauga is truly a vast and large area, much larger than most of these municipalities and areas on this list. So it's much more difficult at this general level, especially across all property types. Not only are we talking about average rent, which is general as it is across all of Mississauga, we're also talking about all property types, right? So I would, although I'm not saying, obviously there has been a decline in rental amount there, you have to be careful because Mississauga is gigantic, and you shouldn't derive too many conclusions, in my opinion, from its placement on this list. Coming in at number 3 is Etobicoke at a decline of 14.6%. Now we're approaching the 15% mark, which leads us to number 2, the municipality of Toronto, coming in at 17%. The average price is still $21.50. Most of the 2 bedrooms are doing the heavy lifting, in my opinion, bringing this average up above $2,000. If you look at just the bachelors, 1 bedrooms, I believe in the coming months you'll see below $2,000, below $1,950 in the former case. So this is not surprising to me whatsoever. Lastly, you have East York looking at a drop of 20% in rental amount, coming in at 1,906. Now, East York has its own special history. I'm assuming that's why they included it here as a separate municipality. You're looking at Leaside, Thorncliffe area. I'm personally not the biggest fan of that area, but it does surprise me that it has seen such a drastic drop across all property types, a 20% decrease. That is very high. In terms of my analysis, I see things only getting better for landlords around maybe next April. Once there is a vaccine, once more Airbnbs can go back to the short-term rental market, because now they've invaded the long-term rental market. A lot of things, once offices open up and there's more demand, there's more immigration, for domestic people who already live here, they need to be close to their workplace, meaning they can leave home or wherever they are right now. Also for foreigners who are coming here, there's migration. Most often people who immigrate to Canada first rent something before they purchase. So I do see relief coming in the future, but it's going to be a couple of months into 2020. So I do see some sort of relief coming for landlords. Things will not bounce back to the extent that they were in early 2019 to early 2020, where market rents were very high. But I do see things, lifting off a bit and getting a bit hotter for landlords, a bit friendlier for landlords around April of 2021. Anyways, that was a quick rundown. As always, if you have any further questions, please feel free to get in touch. You can find my contact information in the description box as well. Feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you very much for watching.